Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Putting the Human Touch Back into Human Resources in a Techno-Central World. I'm Reagan Corliss, and I'm a manager of marketing strategy at MedSavvy. So first, a couple quick housekeeping items. If you wish to receive your HRCI and or your SHRM credits, you need to be sure to attend this entire presentation. Then we will email your certificate afterward. Also, you're welcome to submit questions throughout this webinar. Then we will prepare a Q&A with the video and the slides to be emailed to you afterward. So here's a quick intro before I introduce our fabulous roster of speakers. As you're well aware, human resources has had to continuously do more with less. Incorporating more and more high-tech solutions has been the norm, especially during these COVID times. But are they balanced with the necessary human touch component? There are so many areas in human resources where the balance of technology with the human touch is important for not only your healthcare benefits, but also other areas such as your wellness programs, training, and your onboarding process, where some companies cut out the human touch process from the HR department when bringing on new employees. But wouldn't it be more effective if there was also an easy way for new employees to get the personalized help when they need it, in addition to the convenience of the technology? The key to success is incorporating easy access to personalized help when it's needed with your technically advanced service. Additionally, your outsourced service providers and benefit services can greatly help you in achieving this balance. When selecting service providers, it's key to make sure they are balanced in providing not only the technology for greater efficiencies, but also the human touch component. The case examples in this webinar will help illustrate this point. It's important to let your providers offer their personalized customer service options along with their online services. As you will see from the case studies, a balance of the two brings optimum results. So here's some key considerations. While healthcare is extremely personal, technology can be extremely impersonal, yet effective. You need to find the right balance, and it must be done well. Are your technology solutions actually creating efficiencies for everyone involved, or are they just cost effective for your organization? Are services perceived as just a computer sending email, even if it's a real person trying to get in touch with a real person? Can your employees get reliable and timely help at the click of a button and in various forms, such as chatting, emailing, and calling? Are your help resources easily found and simple? For example, providing one number to call rather than multiple phone numbers to call for issues all related to one area. Are you soliciting feedback from your employees on effectiveness? We're excited about the various experience of our speaker roster. I will introduce each of them in more detail before their segments. However, we have 4 professionals from the healthcare industry with different areas of expertise, and they all have played a significant role in balancing technology with the human touch. Catherine Lau has conducted research on adding digital platforms and technologies for improving healthcare delivery to employees. Her research is significant to HR professionals and includes relevant findings to the importance of balancing high tech with high touch. Jeff Fitzpatrick has developed a technical platform for managing employee wellness, an area where the human touch side of service is extremely important, as well as the technology. Dee Cruz has created and implemented successful corporate change management focused on the consumer through inspiring and enabling employees. Technology has played a key role in her strategy as well. And lastly, Dr. Lacey Becker's work has been focusing on the human touch side delivered via high-tech solution in providing high-touch pharmaceutical online consulting for employees, tied to the efficiency and expediency of automated data and services. So now I'm going to introduce you to Dee Cruz. She is a healthcare professional with more than 18 years of experience in service delivery, process improvement, and finance management. Dee is the Vice President of Consumer Obsession at Cambia Health Solutions. She fills a role designed to inspire and enable employees to consistently solve for the consumer by creating systematic change. In other words, her strategy weighs heavily on the human touch side to create organizational change through its employees. However, we'll see in her presentation that incorporating technology has also been a key to achieving optimum results. D acts as a catalyst within the organization, working collaboratively across departments to understand where existing processes or rules get in the way of being responsive and instantaneous in anticipating and meeting customer needs. Leading consumer champions across many departments, she is focused on turning consumer obsession into an organizational capability as a competitive advantage for Cambia. She has a bachelor's degree in international relations from Stanford University and is also a Six Sigma Black Belt. In addition to sitting on boards of notable organizations, Dee is a Senior American Leadership Fellow, and she has an abundance of great knowledge to share. So Dee, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Reagan. Hi, everyone. I am really excited to be here today to talk to you about the consumer obsession journey that we've been on at Cambia. And just like Reagan said, the role that employees play along that journey and how we've incorporated technology into our organizational learnings. So Reagan mentioned I'm the VP of Consumer Obsession. That is a new role for Cambia, and it is designed to unlock capabilities of our employees so that we can solve for the consumer every step of the way. So how does one go about creating a culture of consumer obsession? Well, first, you really have to make the case for change and get people to understand why becoming consumer obsessed is so important. Then what we found is we really have to determine a clear path forward. We took a very human-centered approach, both with the consumer champions, which you'll hear more about that Reagan introduced, and then finally share with you our journey, where we've been and where we're headed. Making the case for change. So for those of you that don't know, the Cambia cause, it's really, we call it the cause, other organizations call it a mission statement, but it's really why we all come to work every day. And it is to serve as a catalyst to transform healthcare, creating a person-focused and economically sustainable system. What consumer obsession does is it helps serve as a framework for moving the organization from being internally focused or process focused to really being more outcome focused. So how to get started? As a group, and certainly in my experience driving culture and process improvement in large organizations, I already had a thought around employee-led and employee-centered change. At the time that we kicked this effort off in late 2018, we read a Gartner study that basically fell in line very similarly to how we wanted to approach this change. And so they kind of bucketed the effort into 3 key steps. One is, how do you use employees? So back to that human-centered and employee-centered approach to really surface actionable ways to impact the culture. Then how do you create an environment that empowers employees where they're unleashed and equipped to solve consumer problems? So how do we create employee-led efforts? And then third, how do we bring in leaders so that they can model and support the behavior conducive to consumer obsession? And from there, we built our foundational plan. Number 1, again, start with employees. So create a network of cross-functional champions. Number 2, create a pathway for consumer solutioning. Really, again, focused on humans for humans, and we call it the Solve for the Consumer framework. Number 3, create a broad shared understanding across the organization so people can kind of visualize and see the work that we were driving, and that's when we introduced How We Rise. And then 4, demonstrate how all of this works together. And I'll share what we created a consumer wins process, and I'll share what that means. So I'll take you through all of these steps. Our thinking was coming in with the knowledge, and the outstanding research that Gartner had provided really created this kind of model for us to follow, where you build coalitions, you engage employees, you actually demonstrate the change, and then you apply the learnings, and then that begins to build on itself. So we were kind of using this as the model for us to initiate consumer obsession at Cambia. So first, start with employees. We knew that we wanted a cohort of consumer champions that were well connected across the organization, that were leaders in their own right, even if they weren't kind of leaders on paper. So definitely thought of by their leadership team and their peers as leaders. And the goal was really to have them be catalysts for change. So the tip of spear, the first coalition to really start changing and engaging the environment. Through their actions, they would demonstrate and facilitate what this behavior change looked like by mobilizing and engaging others. And then they themselves would spread that kind of how we rise and those how we rise principles across the organization. We worked with leaders across the enterprise to identify consumer champions, and our initial cohort was literally 35 individuals represented through all these bubbles of color that you see. So every area of the business was represented in our initial cohort. And that was extremely important because I think what we were trying to do was get away from the thinking that being consumer obsessed was just in the purview of employees who actually dealt with consumers on the front line, our customer service professionals, or our case managers who make telephonic outreach to consumers who need nurse support. Being consumer obsessed is really in the purview of the entire organization. And so it was really critical for us to get tip of spear, early adopter champions from all facets of the company. Once we had our champions, then it was really important to listen to them and to determine the support that they would need in order to deliver what we were asking them to do, to be early connectors, to serve as a conduit and a catalyst for the rest of the organization. We did a series of design sessions with them, and then we co-created a problem-solving framework that was really focused on human-centered design, principles, and lean problem solving. And the reason why this is so important, this is important for a number of reasons. So when I talk about the consumer champions, we made it fairly clear that we wanted people who were closer to where work happened, which meant that they themselves may not have been exposed to these kinds of frameworks. And so in order to assist in their learning and their execution, we really had to invest the time to provide a pathway for them. The importance of merging human-centered design and lean concepts was really to keep the consumer at the center. So you can't be consumer obsessed if you're building a framework that starts with a company first execution model. It really has to start with a consumer first execution model. And you'll see represented in the graph here, and we branded all of our training and all of our execution with the branding that you see here. So the key mindsets to drive human-centered work: empathy, curiosity, empowerment, iteration, and then key steps along the journey of problem solving, how you identify, investigate, ideate, and then finally implement and integrate. Those had to go hand in hand at every phase of work. Just like I mentioned, we created this, we took the champions through 2 full days of training, and then we used this framework with the broader organization to solve consumer issues. We created a simple way for the organization to think about it so that when you're in the identify stage, it's really about understanding the consumer problem and the opportunity, and not moving forward until it's crystally clear and understood. Sometimes as leaders, we really tend to jump in and problem solve before we really understand the problem. Number 2 is really to take the time to investigate, explore, analyze, validate, really test that the problem we thought it was actually is, and that we really understand what the root cause of that problem is. Then generate and ideate and really test some of these solutions with consumers, both internally and externally. And then finally, implement and integrate. So execute the changes and then make sure that those changes are actually working in the way that you designed. Once we had, our champions, our integrated model and pathway, then it was really important for us to really have the rest of the organization, as the champions were being unleashed and empowered to move into the organization to solve problems. It was really important for us to build a shared understanding across the enterprise of what this was and what it meant, and how everybody else, even if they weren't a consumer champion, had an opportunity to connect in. So we branded consumer obsession as RISE. The importance of branding it as RISE meant that RISE was really for everybody. And everybody had the opportunity to rise for our consumers, to be bold and rise, to rise for each other. We created a tagline that basically said, RISE is about relentlessly solving for the consumer by changing the way we work. And we rolled out a series of how we rise principles, again, so that even if you weren't a consumer champion, you could connect into any one of these principles. So how do you amaze consumers? By really understanding what their needs are. How do you own a solution by not wondering if it's your job to do it or not? How do you move something forward by creating connection across to another business unit? Very little of what happens internally actually takes or should take a siloed approach. And at the end of the day, consumers don't really care about our internal organizational silos. They just want, their needs to be met. And then finally, how could employees act now? So could they, feel empowered and emboldened to stand up for consumers? So once we had our champions, we had our our human-centered design and lean pathway, our solve for the consumer pathway. We had a broad enterprise communication around what this was. Then we moved the champions into teams to actually demonstrate the change for the broader organization. We created what was called consumer wins, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, were intended to be the initiating point of driving a consumer-obsessed environment. So building coalitions, engaging employees, solve for the consumer, applying learnings, and then doing it over and over again and building a movement from there. We took our 35 consumer champions, we broke them into groups, and they surfaced consumer issues to solve along the consumer journey. So it was critical that they identify experiences that could be solved by employees that did not need large funding streams or massive technology redesign. And we wanted to make sure that it hit at all parts of the consumer journey. So access to care, being able to find a provider if you're diagnosed with autism, being able to receive care or coordinate care if you are a caregiver or if you need a procedure that requires an authorization. Ensuring that when you go in for health maintenance, that you understand, like a mammogram, that you understand what your potential out-of-pocket expenses are going to be and the difference between a preventive or a diagnostic exam. And then finally, and most importantly, what we hear from our consumers is we want costs to be predictable. How could we help make costs more predictable, particularly if you're going to seek care in an urgent care setting, or if you're contemplating care that could potentially cost you a large out-of-pocket expense. Our consumer champions are spread throughout our 4-state footprint. In fact, some of them live on the East Coast and throughout the country. So it was really critical that we use Teams as a platform. You can see we had all the consumer wins out here. Each one of the champions teams was broken into the consumer issue they were solving, and they really used it actively as a place to communicate and to store decision making. We had teams do ideation and prototyping in Teams. And so it was really an important way that these teams connected and came to resolution as they were moving along their journey of investigate, ideate, integrate, implement, etc. The consumer outcomes of the consumer wins effort were phenomenal. Reduced consumer effort, improved access to care, better information, reduced out-of-pocket expenses. But what were as important were the organizational learnings. So the importance of thoroughly understanding the problem, leveraging empathy to propel action, and most importantly, effective cross-functional execution. When the consumer wins were in the implement phase, we actually created a consumer wins showcase. It was both an in-person and a virtual event. It was attended in person by 100 people, but virtually by 400 more. And out on SharePoint, we have vignettes of each of the consumer issues and the presentations that the champions themselves did to share with their peers both the problem solving methodology, and the solution. And that impact of not only the piece that we solve for the consumer, but having the champions present those learnings to their peers, both in an in-person and a virtual environment, was extremely powerful. Those lessons persist online today. And you can see that the key learnings for the organization, really understanding the problem, effectively using cross-siloed leadership, and using empathy as a verb to spur action. Those vignettes and lessons still persist today. So looking forward to 2020, with the great success that we had with our inaugural pilot consumer champions and the demonstrated employee-led change, our 2020 objective is really focused on how do we do that third leg that Gartner outlined? How do we embed that in leadership and in the way that we do business? That's our key goal for 2020. It's embedded in our performance goals. And then how do we continue to drive storytelling, training, and celebration of successes? We just rolled out RISE awards across the enterprise, and they are meant to really reinforce the 4 RISE principles that we shared broadly across the organization. Act now, know consumers, join forces, and own it. We're really excited about our path forward and looking forward to sharing even more successes after this year.
Thank you so much, Dee.
And now I'm going to introduce you to Catherine Lau. She is a senior research analyst at Cambia Healthcare. She provides market research to the Cambia product team, both primary research as well as market trends, competitive intelligence, and market opportunity strategy and analysis. Catherine has a long history of working in market research for healthcare and technology companies. She has consulted in patient satisfaction research and continuous progress improvement initiatives for large health systems. She has worked in the biotech industry for product management research, market research for Kaiser Group Health in Seattle, and as a research consultant to large companies in the tech industry. So Catherine, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Great, thanks Reagan. So what I'm going to be going over today is a compilation of research that was done in 2019. I was asked to compile all of the key learnings from the vast amount of research that Cambia has done in relation to consumers and employees and employers' needs and wants as it pertains to healthcare and accessing care, and what are some of the solutions that they're looking for. So the research insights, key topic areas I'm going to be going through are some of the trends and perspectives that we've been watching that impact this space, challenges for employees and employers that they're dealing with in the healthcare space, employers' wants and needs for how they can better help their employees, and then relevant and resonant solutions that employers are asking for to help those employees, and then kind of put this all in context in terms of managing health and well-being during the current COVID-19 pandemic, because I think that's relevant to think about all of these things in the current environment that we're in. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to be going over just research that's been conducted in 2019. We conducted a vast amount of research and found a lot of key healthcare trends and challenges across both the consumer and employer experience. What we found is that the market really needs a new approach to managing health and well-being, and that the new approach will likely come in the form of digital platforms and technologies. We also heard that along with that, they want a certain degree of human touch or a human element to complement that as well. So some of the key trends and perspectives that we've been keeping an eye on are 75% of HR leaders say that they're still on the journey to provide some kind of digital care experience for their employees. 65% of employers with 500 or more employees say that managing employee healthcare costs is a big problem for them. 73% of large employers agree that they want to do more for their employees, but are often constrained by budgets. 74% of employers agree that they play an important role in educating and engaging employees about their health, but half say low employee engagement with healthcare and wellness programs are a problem for them. So looking at all of the research we did on consumers, one of the key things that we heard was that they want simple solutions that reduce burdens on time and money, and they want to be empowered to take a more active role in managing and organizing their health in one place. The voice of the customer, consumer, one of the things that one of the quotes was, anything related to healthcare, I find the whole process confusing and frustrating. And I think that about sums it up from the consumer or employee perspective. In all of the research we did on employers, the key takeaway is that they're looking for new solutions to help employees manage their care more easily and effectively, while increasing employee engagement, boosting productivity, and maximizing their benefit spend. One employer put it nicely, we want to make sure that employees are taken care of. I think it's a whole mindset in terms of thinking of our employees as a family. Across all the research we did, we found 4 overlapping challenges for consumers and employers: financial worries, knowledge gaps when it comes to benefits and accessing care, barriers to accessing care, and fragmentation of all of the information they need for benefits and healthcare. And what does that all mean? Well, for employees, the key challenges have been getting accurate costs for medical care and prescriptions, surprise bills, and confusion around payments and billing. So those feed into the financial worries issue. They are burdened by navigating a complex healthcare system. They lack knowledge on resources, benefits, and providers, and so that feeds into the knowledge gap issue. There's confusion about where to go for care and avoid costly ER or urgent care visits. They also have trouble sometimes accessing care in terms of, if they need to see a specialist or if they need mental health care. It's sometimes difficult to get that care when they need it. So there's barriers to care. Managing multiple systems for health information, both paper, digital, websites, apps. There's also a burden of tracking medications and immunizations manually. So there's a lot of fragmentation of where do I access care, multiple logins, multiple websites, possibly multiple apps, and it's just a fragmented process. For employers, their key issues are they want to be providing tools to help employees predict those costs. Keeping costs low while providing a good network is also key for them. So those feed into their financial worries. Helping employees understand how to choose affordable plans and where to go for care, understanding coverage and benefits, those all feed into the knowledge gaps that they see their employees have. Helping employees manage chronic conditions and getting access to care for what they need when they need it. Again, one of the concerns being if they have a chronic condition or a mental health issue and they're not able to get care, there's certain barriers to care that they're worried about. And then finally, they recognize that it's, there's a variety of benefits they often are offering their employees, and it's a very fragmented process with multiple websites and logins that is sometimes difficult to manage. Over the course of looking at all the research we've done, we came up with some key employer wants and needs. One of the big areas that they talked about is the caring, incredible support need. So having an integrated one-place solution to help employees navigate through their healthcare journey with guidance and navigation support is the ideal, and ways to help employees better navigate and understand benefits. And doing that all in a very caring and credible way would be a big win for employers. They also want one place for all things for health and benefits. So include higher touch human support that employees value and trust, will help employees with more engagement and increase employee engagement in their healthcare and benefits. So having human touch combined with that key one place for all things would definitely be a win for employers. Digital solutions to make things easier and accessible for all employees and all demographics, not just the tech savvy, but everybody. And having financial support tools as part of that, not just for healthcare, but for planning for other financial needs. All of those in a digital solution would be great and something that employers have told us they want and need. Employers also want relevant and resonant solutions. So they're looking for all in one place, something to access, all of these tools in one place, have immediate access to solutions that provide care access, transparency, support, and convenience of all of their healthcare needs. Employers want tools that allow employees to access care more easily and recognize that there's a lack of employee access to care. So this includes access to support for chronic conditions and behavioral health, which I mentioned already. They're looking for solutions to help employees more easily and cost effectively access the care they need when they need it. Employers are looking for solutions that help and tools that help lower costs of healthcare overall for their company. So help employees make better healthcare decisions, and tools to estimate costs of care for medications is one of those things. And included in that is just helping employees understand what the cost will be if they make different choices so they become better healthcare consumers. And part of this solution, a relevant solution that employers want, is concierge support for employees. And what does that mean exactly? These are services that assist in health benefit navigation, care management for higher risk employees, and all of this is done in a very high touch way through human support over the phone or through digital means. So it's not just a self-serve process where the employees are struggling to figure it out on their own. They have some kind of human support element that's supporting them through these decisions. So all of this is very relevant to the current environment that we're in right now. So now more than ever, easy access to care support tools, digital support tools, and telehealth solutions is imperative right now. Organizations are contemplating their approach to meet health and well-being needs of employees more than ever. Well before this crisis, our research indicated employees and employers are looking for new solutions to address navigating benefits and gaining care and all the things that I mentioned before. And what the virus environment has done is actually amplified the crisis and the problems that they've already been facing. The relevance of our research tells us that they are both still looking for the following. Employers want the high-tech elements, digital health solutions for easier access to care, guidance and benefit navigation support, a better way to predict and manage healthcare costs, financial well-being support for employees beyond healthcare. And the key to all of this is a human touch, caring, incredible human concierge support. Consumers want, more than ever, remote support for where to go for care, whether it's the ER, urgent care, or telehealth. Support for understanding their healthcare benefits. Support for financial worries related to medical and pharmacy costs. And the key to all of this is the human touch, human support that provides comfort and information when it's needed. So in conclusion, both employers and employees have similar needs. In the high-tech space, they want increased convenience and efficiencies, and they're needed from technology with the added caring human touch component. Increased ease of use and user experience can be gained through the right types of technology with the right design. Human touch, the comforting human touch component is very key.
Thank you, Catherine. And now for our next speaker.
Dr. Lacey Becker is a clinical pharmacist at MedSavvy, which is an online employee benefit service that helps both employees and employers save on their medication costs while improving their health. MedSavvy is a high-tech service that also applies the human touch in order to achieve optimum results for employee medication utilization. Lacey primarily provides online medication consultations to employees and Medicare members through MedSavvy's high-touch Ask a Pharmacist feature. Her pharmacist team also sends out safety and cost savings email alerts. They vigorously research and grade medications so that MedSavvy users can compare medication quality and pricing, which is key to helping employers save significantly on their pharmacy benefits. Lacey enjoys working with patients and providers to develop medication regimens tailored to the individual, especially when this requires creative problem solving. Without further ado, here is Dr. Lacey Becker.
Thanks, Reagan. So today I'll give you a brief overview of MedSavvy, just enough to give you a little bit of perspective about what we do. Then we'll spend most of our time talking through examples of technology and human touch working together to really give us the best results. And then we'll close out with a summary of some key points. So as Reagan mentioned, we're a high-touch pharmacy service that incorporates technology to optimize employee medication utilization. Said another way, we're a group of pharmacists trying to help people, and we use technology so that we can help more people. We really use technology to create efficiencies. So it eases the process of comparing medication quality, cost, and side effects. It helps us automate pricing based on individual health plans and location. We use it to automatically populate our members' virtual medicine cabinets based on their insurance claims data. And then we also use technology to automate safety and cost savings email alerts based on the medications in someone's virtual medicine cabinet. So we're really providing targeted recommendations. So we're using technology to create efficiencies, and then we really use human touch to enhance that technology. So our pharmacists are researching effectiveness of medications and assigning grades. Our pharmacy team also monitors medication recalls, safety, and cost, and then we provide the content for those automated alerts I just mentioned. Finally, perhaps the most evident place where human touch is involved is during our one-on-one pharmacist consultations. This is where we're providing individualized medication recommendations, and we're also helping our members make the changes we recommend. First, we have Joe. He's a 35-year-old male with severe uncontrolled depression. In fact, he's had 2 suicide attempts in the past year, and he also happens to have a serious heart condition on top of it all. He's seeing at least a few specialists, a psychiatrist and a cardiologist that we know of, and his heart medication may be worsening his depression. Fortunately, he switched to an equally effective, affordable medication for his heart that does not cause or worsen depression. In pharmacy land, we consider this a happy outcome because his medications have been addressed first as a possible cause of his worsened depression before other medications are added on top. So what made this possible? On the technology side, his medications were automatically loaded into his virtual medicine cabinet based on his insurance claims. This provides a reliable medication list that our pharmacists are then able to work from. His wife was able to then request a medicine cabinet check by simply clicking a button. On the human touch side, Joe's wife was concerned, especially about his depression, so she reached out. She also gave us some really important additional information. She let us know that her husband was really struggling with depression and that he'd had 2 suicide attempts in the past year. This provided really useful, vital context that made it clear that he needed a change. Our pharmacists provided quick online professional help at no extra cost. In the process, we identified the problematic medication and found equally effective alternative heart medications that do not worsen depression. Joe's wife then took those recommendations to his cardiologist, who immediately made that change. So how does this relate to you as a human resource professional? Well, balancing the human touch with technology is not only important for your provider services, it's also important within your department. When we add in the convenience of technology to make our jobs a little bit easier, we have to be sure that we still provide a reliable human component in order to get the very best results. In this example, we needed both technology and the human touch, and providing one without the other could have severely affected this man's life. Next, we have a 79-year-old gentleman named Mark who's experiencing changing thyroid levels. He takes 11 medications, including 1 herbal supplement, and he's now borderline hyperthyroid. So he's right on the verge of maybe needing 1 extra medication in addition to the 11 he's already taking. But his herbal supplement is identified as possibly affecting his thyroid, and so this information is handed off to his doctor, who then can decide whether to stop or continue the supplement. What made this possible? Well, he was able to request a review of his medication list by simply clicking a button. No need to wait in line at a pharmacy or to go in for a doctor's appointment. And during COVID, this is especially important. Maybe particularly for this gentleman whose age puts him at a little bit more of a risk. Because of efficiencies created elsewhere, our pharmacists have more time to devote to one-on-one consultations. And this is really true for all of these cases. Technology is creating efficiencies, so we have more time to spend one-on-one with our users. On the human touch side, Mark was concerned that his thyroid levels were changing, and he was interested to know if any of his medications might be contributing. So he requested a consultation. He also provided his complete list of medications, including his herbal supplement. Unfortunately, herbal supplements probably are not going to be automatically loaded into our members' virtual medicine cabinets because most of the time they're paying cash and getting these things just over the counter. Our pharmacist was then able to research and identify his herbal supplement as possibly increasing thyroid. She also offered to call his provider to discuss those findings and determine whether a change needed to be made. So again, how does this relate to you all? When we use technology in our professions, that technology should not replace us. Technology can create efficiencies and save us time. That way we can focus on the things that really matter. In this case, our pharmacist was able to step in and research an uncommon herbal supplement and identify that it may be contributing to this man's worsened health. This employee needed extra assistance beyond our automated technology, and he was able to quickly get the in-person help he sought. Next, we have Mary. She's a 51-year-old and she has heartburn and high blood pressure. Her heartburn medication was withdrawn from the market. It was recalled by the FDA for impurities. She was quickly and easily able to switch to an equally effective, affordable heartburn medication that does not interact with any of her blood pressure medications. And really the point here is that she was able to quickly and easily make this change. So on the technology side, her medications were automatically loaded into her virtual medicine cabinet based on her insurance claims. And because of this, we were able to send her out an automated recall alert based on her specific heartburn medication, letting her know she probably needed to switch meds. She was then able to request a personalized alternative recommendation, again, just by clicking a button. On the human touch side, she was concerned about a new medication interacting with her others, so she reached out to us. She also gave us some additional information. She let us know what she'd tried in the past for heartburn that hadn't worked out well for her. She was able to get quick online personalized alternative recommendations based on her other medications, so nothing that would interact, and also based on those things that she said she had tried that hadn't really worked for her in the past. Our pharmacist then offered to call her doctor to make the change on her behalf, although in this case, Mary happened to have an upcoming appointment in just a few days' time, so she opted to talk with her doctor herself. Next, we have Sarah. She's a 28-year-old, and like most 28-year-olds, she really doesn't have any significant health concerns. But she was spending over $200 per fill on her birth control medication. And so she was switched to an equally effective birth control med that was significantly less expensive, saving her about $150 per fill. So again, just like Mary, her medications were automatically loaded into her virtual medicine cabinet based on her insurance claims. And then because of this, we were able to automatically send her an alert notifying her we had identified potentially less costly alternatives to her birth control med. Finally, she was able to easily request one-on-one help in making this change, again, simply by clicking a button. On the human touch side, Sarah wanted to make a change, but she didn't know how, so she requested an online pharmacist consultation. The pharmacist was then able to assess whether making a change was really right for Sarah, and she was also able to provide additional information on differences between the two meds. So whether there were any additional side effects, whether one was taken in a different way than the other, etc. Our pharmacist then promptly contacted Sarah's provider to make this change on her behalf. So in the end, in addition to that, about $150 per fill that we saved her, we probably also saved Sarah a doctor's appointment. So technology can help us pinpoint the applicable individuals who really need our personalized attention. In these past examples, technology prompted our users to act, enabling the pharmacist to spend more time helping users make choices that were really right for them. Human touch is an important component to look for when evaluating service providers who interact with your employees. When service providers balance high touch with high tech, you get better results that will also be less demanding on your time. So in closing, technology is enhanced with human touch and vice versa. Balancing technology with human touch is really the key. Technology is going to help us create efficiencies and save time so we can focus on the things that really matter to us. Technology can also help us pinpoint applicable individuals who really need our personalized attention. And when we use technology in our professions, it should not replace us. When we're adding in the convenience of technology to make our jobs more efficient, a little bit easier, we have to be sure that we provide for a reliable human component in order to get the very best results.
Thank you, Lacey. And now for our last speaker, Jeff Fitzpatrick.
Jeff manages the product portfolio for the Human Performance and Wellbeing Division at Cambia Health. He currently leads a dedicated product management team as he drives strategy, delivery, and engagement for a portfolio of well-being solutions. Jeff has served in the health and well-being industry field for over 13 years, and his consumer-centric approach has enabled him to deliver a variety of digital experiences, tackling both chronic and lifestyle needs of the end user, key areas that also require the human component. In former leadership roles, Jeff helped elevate digital product for both WebMD and Nike Digital. So without further ado, here is Jeff.
Hello, thanks very much for that great introduction. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I'm excited to talk about this topic specifically. the intersection of humans and technology and how it's evolving. And then obviously I will be talking about it in the context of well-being, since that's the camp I live in most of the time. So thanks again. Hope you enjoy the content. So let's first talk about AI and automation. There's a lot of talk about that. Technology is big, especially in this day and age. A lot of folks are leaning very heavily on automation and AI. And the question that comes about is, is this something that we should be concerned about? Are people going to lose jobs? It's an interesting topic. There was a recent study that just came out from McKinsey that is predicting that by the year 2030, about 800 million jobs worldwide will be automated, which means they will go away from human-powered jobs. So that has a lot of people very concerned. A lot of those roles are indeed data-centric roles, where a machine might be more successful in jumping in. And so that definitely has people in this country and globally quite concerned. But the good news is that technology can help. Technology can also create jobs. Technology can be a partner. Technology has already helped in a variety of ways. For example, job security. There's a variety of different communication opportunities through jobs today, even in some of the work that I do. Small applications like Slack or Asana, which are key in software management communications, those have bubbled up and have become extremely pervasive. Material living standards. Technology has jumped in a way to help people find the products they need, maybe at a better price, and maybe get them quicker. A lot of that is due to technology. Education, I think we're living it right now, right? I know with my children, with the way that things are going now, right, their education is literally online, all of it. Rather than heading off to school every morning, they have classes online, and they have certain times they need to be there. And without technology, that would be extremely challenging considering the environment that we're in today. Health, same thing, right? A lot of the products that I work with, and I have for years, truly have helped elevate the levels of health, help reach the people that maybe don't otherwise have access to healthcare. Technology has been a steadfast partner in that regard. And equal opportunities. Gone are the days when technology, or when you cannot get what you need. Sometimes that now even folks that are way out and would like to apply for jobs maybe can't because they can't make it into town. They can bridge that gap, and they can leverage technology to do so. There's quite a bit of advantages to technology, so nothing to be too concerned with. But there is another question. Is there a disconnect between technology? Remember, the topic is the human and technology and that intersection. Are people getting what they really want? And so did a little research and poked around a bit and found out that VoxPro did a study recently, and they found out that 68% of consumers had not yet used chatbots. And chatbots, as most of you know, are these simulated conversations that you can have online, or maybe even your smartphone, and you can speak to, if you will, chat with someone from the company that you're interested in. Maybe it's a customer service rep. The challenging part of that is over half the people that they surveyed, and this is about 1,000 people, said that they hadn't used chatbots, that they would prefer to work with real people. And so after digging a little bit further, the same study found that there is an appetite to work with technology such as chatbots, but what's key is to make sure that the human interaction is still melded in closely with that, and so that it's not just all tech necessarily or all human, that there's a nice marriage between the two. And so that combination will lead to success. So I wanted to cover a couple of different examples that you've probably encountered in your daily life. One of the most popular ones, one of the most pervasive ones, is the customer service industry. So regardless of the vertical that you might be in, or that you might be pursuing, or you have questions on, customer service as an organization, organizations, has done a great job of leveraging technology to help their consumers. The ability to provide information, the ability to get information on the consumer, and to really cut to the chase and help these people with their needs has been a huge plus from technology. They still do want the human interaction as surveyed, but it's important to say that technology makes it better. I don't know if you have been on a call with customer service, and they might ask you your first name, last name, and maybe your phone number, or maybe even your social security number. And then they transfer you to someone who then asks you that same information again, and potentially a third time or more. And so what technology can do is it can present that key information to the customer service rep and make the interaction smooth, faster, and make it more rich and seem a little bit less of a pain for some, for their customers. The more that these folks know, the better that they can serve their customer. So when thinking about human and technology, and then thinking furthermore about human resources, there's a couple things to keep in mind. That the first thing is technology can help. Technology can help in a variety of ways, and three main ways that technology can help is the recruitment and hiring. With so many different online job boards right now, you have the ability to search for jobs, you have the ability to filter by location, you can potentially filter by requirements, you can apply online, you can do all this from the comfort of your home. And then on the other side, human resources, the people that have these jobs opening have the ability to bring in potential candidates, screen them appropriately, and then quickly find potential candidates that might be suitable for their roles. Another way that technology helps, which is kind of a no-brainer, is communications. Emails go out, millions of them a day. This is how organizations communicate with their workforce. Without email, it'd be extremely challenging to communicate. I can't even think, really, I can't think right now how we could then successfully communicate. It would be a lot of paper, I would imagine. And then finally, another way that technology has interjected and is a benefit for human resources and the workforce alike is employee performance. The ability to set goals, to have those goals recorded, maybe somewhere visible online or in an intranet, the ability to track towards those goals. This is key in evaluating employee performance. Couple things to keep in mind though is when I talked about those online jobs and those sites that feature a variety of different openings, yes, they can indeed capture resumes. Yes, they can bring in candidates, but can they really help you identify the very best performers? Can this be done? And I think what that's getting at is that oftentimes people can look very, very good on paper, but when you get them in front of people or a panel and you shake their hand potentially and you ask them tough questions, I think sometimes you can really see, and you can see if there's a communication style that might work for that organization. That's very difficult to do through a website at times. So like we talked about earlier, email is very strong, but a face-to-face interaction is very difficult to replace. And then finally, privacy. When we go to hire, we tend to ask for a fair amount of information, and a lot of that information is pretty private. And the information needs to be secure. And the candidate needs to have confidence that that information is secure. So even though technology is there and can help bring people in, can help communicate with people, it's extremely important that that we keep their information safe and that we respect the privacy. Okay, so now a quick question, maybe an easy one for some of you, but here it goes. What is the #1 tech-enabled device that 81% of Americans own today? This is something that you may have on you right now. It may be sitting next to you, might be on your nightstand when you head to bed. You might even exercise with it. No huge surprise, the smartphone. The smartphone may be the #1 most impactful technological product that your consumers or your customers or your employees could have. In fact, from a human resources perspective, you'll be interested to know that ADP did a recent study, and about 37% of those mobile users rely on their smartphones to access pay information through an HR app. Now, that's just pay. There's a lot of other reasons that your workforce could be accessing apps. So it's extremely something to kind of keep in mind, very important to keep in mind, that a chunk of your workforce is already out there on this device. It's already in their pockets. They're using it daily, a lot actually. And so this could be a really nice channel to reach out to them. Some of the things that you could do are on the right here. Keep in mind that there's a tremendous amount of data capture that comes through the smartphone. Data sharing is very, very easy as well. Think about all the data that you share through your social media or through your email or other secure portals that you might log into. Access to resources. So if you as an organization, a human resources organization, would really like to get the word out, share content, bring people in, the smartphone is extremely important to think about. It's a great way to get that information out there and to provide access to content. And then, like I said before, everybody has one, or just about everyone has one. So the consumer preference is there. You can, with confidence, go out knowing that your workforce is going to have, or most likely going to have, one of these. So now we've talked about human a little bit, we've talked about technology, we talked about the a couple examples of customer service and how they have really done a great job of leveraging technology. I want to pivot slightly and talk about technology and well-being and how those two are working together. And we'll also tie in human resources as well, of course. So technology, data, and the human touch. So a really good example that came to mind for me that I wanted to share with you was health coaching. Health coaching, if you haven't had a health coach session, a health coach primarily exists in a remote location and reaches out to a variety of customers and reaches out and does so in a way to help understand their well-being needs, maybe help them set some goals, help them with some chronic conditions. But the health coach is only as good as the data that they get. And so this is where the technology comes in. So the data that I'm referring to can come in a variety of different ways. Biometric screenings and assessments. Those are really good, I guess, tools that can be used by these health coaches. Biometric screenings can be pulled into a platform, and these health coaches, because they have the authority and the ability to understand what's going on, they can take a look at the readings, they can take a look at the numbers, and they can really speak personally to the user. So that technology, that data is extremely important. The same thing with assessments. Understanding and knowing where you're at, establishing that baseline is extremely important. Claims data, that's tried and true, right? All that information, our coaches have special access, privacy access, where they have the permissions to go ahead and access that very, very important data, and they can advise people. They can help people with their needs, and that claims data is extremely important. And then one of the last ones here is it's kind of the fun one, right? Is wearable devices. So wearable devices are becoming extremely pervasive. A lot of people have them. I have a Fitbit on right now. It tracks my workouts. It tracks my heart rate, my steps, and in a lot of platforms, like the one that we actually use today, that we're pushing out, is very, very compatible with a lot of these wearables. And so that data is pulled in, which is extremely handy, extremely helpful for these health coaches. And then some of the ones that you may have already heard of or may not, actually, are some of the clinical devices out there that really help folks like with diabetes, so the blood sugar levels can be pulled into platforms. So again, health coaches, nurses, physicians, other providers can see the data and understand how they can help people.
Thank you, Jeff, and all our speakers for sharing your knowledge. So here's a quick About Us section. MedSavvy is a unique and innovative employee benefit. It integrates with your existing pharmacy benefit plan. MedSavvy provides employees with online access to medication costs, grades, and side effects in side-by-side comparisons. MedSavvy also helps employers and employees save on medication costs while improving health, productivity, and therefore reducing absenteeism. Our team of online pharmacists provide consultations and grade medications using a rigorous evidence-based system. The costs are customized to your health plan and your location.
So I want to take a quick moment to talk about the Human Performance and Wellbeing Division at Cambia. We are headquartered in Portland, Oregon, and the team is focused on delivering top shelf health and well-being solutions. Our main health plan focused solution is called Regents Empower, and we also have a carrier agnostic solution that's called Beyond Well. So these two solutions are built to be cutting edge well-being products that the end user can use. And on the other side, the employer can get a variety of different levels of reporting and see kind of how it's going. So our division, works tirelessly. We have product managers, we have design, we have client success people, we have operations, and we have reporting professionals that really pull it all together and deliver this level of well-being through these various products that I mentioned.
And now for a quick overview on Cambia Health Solutions. Cambia Health Solutions is a company that is creating simple and personalized health experiences for people and their families. Known for creating the first employer-based health plan in the country 100 years ago, Cambia continues to put people at the heart of everything they do. Today, Cambia serves over 70 million Americans with simple and personalized health experiences. So again, we will provide a Q&A summary and a video link with slides after this webinar. If you would like to request additional information or a demo on MedSavvy or the Wellness Beyond Well application, use the form that pops up at the end of this webinar or respond to our follow-up email. Your feedback is very welcome, and we'd love to hear about your ideas for future webinars. Or you can contact us at these phone numbers and email addresses. Thank you for attending.
Well, thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully you've gotten some insight, maybe even got some cool ideas of how technology might benefit you in your role, or maybe you as an individual. One more thing before we go is I did want to talk about and go into a little bit more detail about Beyond Well, our well-being product. So Beyond Well is a top shelf solution that, just like we say here, is built to encourage, inspire, and ignite. This is a solution that will appeal both to the employer and to the employee. There's a variety of different features on here that will help keep people engaged, and also on the back end provide some rich reporting. Because there is an assessment up front, the solution has the ability to adjust, and over time the user will be reassessed, and those adjustments will come in play, and they will be presented in a way that will make a very personalized journey for the user. Other things like self-guided programs, team challenges, individual challenges. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is that Beyond Well is extremely accessible. So for those of you that are very much into the internet and want to stay on the web, that's fine. But there may be a few of you, or maybe a lot of you rather, that are very into your smartphones. And so Beyond Well does present well with its own native app. And of course, like we've been talking about the whole time with our webinar, there is a bridge between that technology and the humans. So health coaching is very much a part of Beyond Well. So hopefully you'll get a chance to take a look. Please let us know if you have any more questions about Beyond Well. Thank you.